Hey everyone, this is John Wright from Overlanding and Robotics, and today what we're going to be doing is upgrading the GX460 with a new set of coilovers. Okay, so some of the things that you're going to need for this project, obviously you're going to order your coilovers from whichever manufacturer you want to go with. I'm running Ironman Foam Cell Pros. We're only doing the front of the GX in this video. You'll need to have potentially to adjust them some type of coil compressor, okay? And I went with the ones from Specialty Products. You can get them on Amazon, but they're a little pricier, but they have a much higher load capacity than some of the clones, and they also have a vinyl covers on the jaws to keep those nice, beautiful looking coils nice and shiny, and we don't want to scratch them until they get rusted. Maybe some type of tool, whether you go with Ironmans or you use your own, some type of tools in order to loosen and tighten the jaws on the double collars, okay, for the different heights. These are fully adjustable, so that we can tune in our exact height, or if we have any KDSS lean. You'll need a 19 millimeter wrench, okay? I have a ratchet wrench to make it easier. And you'll need some type of adjustable in order to hold the top of the shock tower. Also, in addition, you're gonna need some jack stands. You're gonna need something that can lift your tall vehicle off the ground. Back here, this is a stock small 3-ton jack stand, but it's not going to do the trick because I have a lifted vehicle to start with. So what I went with 6-ton. I'm told that you can get away with a 4-ton. I've seen that on forums, but these were on Amazon and they were like 40 bucks for the pair. And so I went with those because I had a nice Labor Day sale. And they also have, which I thought was a nice feature, a locking mechanism, a bar that goes across just for safety reasons. I'll put the link in the description below. Last but not least, you're going to need some additional types of tools, okay, to get in there, and probably an impact gun, and of course a standard floor jack for the process. Okay, one of the first things you're going to want to do is take your GX and place it in an area that you already have a level place to park it. I'm going to use the garage for this work. And I let it set overnight so that the KDSS system would settle on a level area so that I can get a reference point. So what I'm going to do is we're going to measure. I'm not doing the back today. I mean, I did measure it just to know what the height was. I'm actually going to measure from the bottom of the ground there up through the center of the axle to the fender, and we're gonna be able to figure out. I got about 37.5, and I did it on the other side and I got the same 37.5, so I don't really have any significant KDSS lean in the front. I got a small difference in the back, maybe about 3/8 to a ½ inch, but today's project is just focusing on the front, and we want to make sure, because I'm happy with the lift that I currently have with a set of spacers in stock coilovers. I just want to replicate that. So, and I'm able to fine tune that on the Foam Cell Pros by dialing that up and down with a double collar. Don't forget, before you put it up on jack stands, make sure you loosen all the lug nuts. Get the other side. Next thing you want to do is remove your front skid plate. As you can see here, I've got a little bit of rot starting out here in the back. This just takes, to remove this, is two 12 millimeter bolts, and then it hinges off the front. If you ever change your oil, you would have to do that too. If there's anybody out there that wants to sponsor me with a new skid plate system, I'd love to talk to you. Anyway, we'll set this aside for now because that's not the project at hand, but we're going to use the jack to come underneath and the front cross member so we can jack up the front and place our jack stands on the frame rails. Next step would be to come in here and make sure that all your bolts that you're going to be working on, okay, have been shot with a little bit of WD-40. I've been letting them soak for a little bit, so now I'm going to remove off of the upper control arm this little bracket that holds this brake line, and down here off of the spindle, I guess, arm. We're going to remove that as well, and then eventually we're going to move to pulling this pin out, and we're going to have to hold this back so it doesn't pop out and take our CV joint with it. Once you're done taking that off, go ahead and thread this back in so we don't lose that guy. All right, set that aside. All right, let's see if we can get this thing started. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the castle nut, okay, from the spindle. So there's a little pin here, cotter pin. There it goes. It just popped right out on us. And it fell down below. Let me grab that. Okay. That's what she looks like. There's a little hook on there. Okay, so take your 19 mil. After you take the cotter pin out, get yourself something with a little bit of leverage and go ahead and try to start that. There you go. Not bad. Okay. Should be able to, once that comes, get started, we should be able to thread that out almost by hand. If not, we can get a ratchet. Yeah, we'll get a ratchet. There we go. Castle nuts off. Set that aside. Your cotter pin. Okay, now there's a flat side here, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a mallet and we're going to only hit the flat side, and that should jar that so that this pops down, so we can take it off. Okay, so you got 17 millimeter, 3 of them on the top of the strut on the coilover. And so you're gonna have to double wrench it after you WD-40 it to get some leverage, because if you have a deep socket, it's probably not gonna clear the fender. So give yourself some leverage, at least to give it a start. And then you should be able to do the others. Goes. Okay. Ooh, okay, good. Can you push up on here? Yeah. Sneak it forward underneath there. Ready? Yep. Yep, I don't want to rip that boot. Okay, one more. Oh, I'm on the bungee. Yep, this bungee's in my way. Okay, so you just hold this, I'm gonna undo the bungee. Okay, ready? Yep. It's been a couple hours. We finally got our driver side out, and it's side by side here with the Ironman. A couple things off the bat that we're looking at is, I have the spacer, and it's placed in here within the top collar. It's inside here, and you'll notice that this spring is longer, so there's more coils here, so it's going to handle more weight. And down here, which is interesting, I did not expect the stock one to be longer than this one, but it's maybe longer because of the spacer. So we're going to swap this in. Hopefully that'll go in easier than this one coming out. Okay, so we ran into a little snag on the passenger side. So we've already removed off the bracket, okay, for the brake line, and taken the spindle off and set aside this bracket down here. So we're in the same spot pretty much. And we're going up here and we're just removing off our top nuts off of our coilover, and the one in the back, this one back here, it just wouldn't go. So my son Joe, who's a physicist and studying material science at Drexel right now in his doctorate, he says what we need to do is we just need a way to keep the wrench from sliding off. So we've got one of these box end ratchets, 17 mil, and we found a big washer in my spare parts bin, and we took another one of the nuts from here and we put over the top, and now we cannot slide off of the nut when we pull on this as hard as we can. So using leverage, we pull this thing and we just broke it loose. So there's the trick, okay, if you ever get stuck with something like that, because if you strip that, good luck trying to get that out. You probably have to cut it out. So thanks, Joe. Okay, so we're around the lower shock mount, and we got to pull that back in. I got a ratchet strap with captured ends that are going around the bottom underneath, around to one of the mounting points of the lower control arm. And I'm going to ratchet to try to pull it back in so we can get the bolt out. Okay, so we had on the passenger side, a little bit of a challenge getting the lower shock body out of the bracket on the lower control arm. So what we did was we positioned the jack underneath the KDSS cylinder, okay, that pushes up and down, okay, that actuates. And we put a little pressure on that with the floor jack, and it allowed us to pull out the shock, out of the lower bracket. So now we're going to pull that out, and we're going to leave it there because we don't have the driver's side strut in yet. We're going to do the passenger first, and last, after we get this side done, then we're going to go back. By the way, we didn't do anything with the shutter valves. As of now, we have not done that. There's lots of folks online saying we should, other people saying we shouldn't. I was trying to get away without doing that because I don't have any KDSS lean, so I'm trying to keep it the way it is rather than monkey with that if I don't have to. Okay, so both the passenger and the driver struts, the original ones, are out. I don't see any difference. They both have a spacer because this was part of a level kit. Now the spacers are not again at the top, so they're underneath here to compress the spring, which is the right way to do it. But I kind of was wondering if we're going to need to have one side, the driver's side, which usually is the one that has the gas tank and of course the extra driver, or normally just one person driving it, so more weight. Typically you see if they need a spacer, they put it on the driver's side. But since these are set up the same, I'm going to just leave them the same, and we're going to throw them in and see what kind of lift we get. Okay, once you got yours out, you're going to take your new coilover and you're going to just reverse the process. So we're going to thread this up through the upper control arm, and we're going to put at least one nut up there to hold it in place, and then we're going to take the lower mount point and we're gonna put the bolt through, and then we'll be on our way. And we're gonna do passenger first. Okay, so holy moly, putting in the passenger strut. Okay, just getting it in because the lower body here is just so much wider than the stock. Trying to angle it down between. What we had to do is, before we could bring it up in here, I used this little pry bar, and I put it underneath and up into the circle, you know, up here, the hole where the strut comes up in. And just to lift that upper control arm out all my might, I'm leaning against, my face is in the fender, I'm just pulling up while Joe kind of negotiated that into its spot. The good news is, because this is a little bit shorter than the stock, at least my stock struts, it is fitting down below. We got to put the through bolt down below on the lower control arm, and we have the nuts kind of hand tight holding it in there, and then we'll tighten that up. So holy moly. Driver's side went in a lot easier than the passenger. We expected that. As you can see, it's in. Got the castle nut back on. We're just about ready to tighten up the 12 mil for the bracket down here for the brake line, and the 10 mil up here on the upper controller. Once we do that, we're all ready to test out our suspension. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. This concludes our detailed installation video on the Foam Cell Pros on our GX460. Be sure to look out for the upcoming videos that we're going to make on performance, where we highlight before and after footage up at Bald Eagle State Forest. I'm real excited to film that and to put that out for all of you to watch. And remember to like and subscribe. Thanks very much.